Uh,
Paper, yeah. It's our time. One love. How are you doing today? I'm super excited to be here. Listen, Paperboy 2021, everybody having some fun. Paperboy 2021, everybody. It's our time. Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, Staten Island, New York. Let's go. How you doing? Mike, good morning.
well, thank you for that. Um, I'm just going to get into it for our audience. Thank you for joining us today again for our Vote In or Out Mayoral Forum series, which is designed to give candidates running for office a chance to inform the voters directly about their platform and about their stances on the issues. At Vote In or Out, we believe a better informed electorate and increased voter participation provides for a better democracy. We are encouraging all citizens to get informed, get involved, and to be the change they wish to see. I'm Michael Sharafo, co-founder and political director over here at Vote In or Out. Today, we are joined by mayoral candidate Paperboy Love Prince, who is running as a Democrat to be the next mayor of New York City. Their background includes being an activist, an artist, an athlete, an entrepreneur, a web developer, street performer, and an occasional rapper. Notably, Paperboy Prince ran against Representative Nydia Velasquez last year in New York's 7th Congressional District on a shoestring budget of $20 and ended up getting more than 14,000 votes, which is more than anybody's gotten in that district's primary in the past 8 years. So that was quite an accomplishment. They didn't win, but they definitely gave the longtime Congresswoman a run for her money, all 400,000 of it.
Yes.
So, hi, Paperboy Prince. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. Why don't we just start off with a little introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words. Who is Paperboy Prince, and why are they running to be the next mayor of New York City?
Thank you for that intro. I love it. And so um paper, yeah. So for me, I'm an artist, I'm an activist, I'm a champion of the people, a small business owner, a creative, a futurist, um, a dancer, a model. I do a lot of work with brands. I've worked with Facebook and Gucci and McDonald's and other large corporations on helping them connect better and serve our communities better. Um, and so now our plan is to use that same ingenuity, that same creativity, and help to change New York City forever. Um, a lot of the people that you'll talk to as you do this process, a lot of these other candidates, they're inside of a box. They cannot think outside of this box. They cannot talk outside of this box. They cannot dress outside of this box because it messes up the whole system. Whereas for me, I don't accept any endorsements. I don't accept any endorsements because why do I want endorsements from the same groups that have endorsed and promoted bad candidates, bad politicians for decade after decade, year after year? Why do I want their endorsement? I want nothing to do with a lot of these groups. I mentioned even with the fundraising, I have no corporate overlords. I don't even have any citizen overlords, right? With $20 and a smile, we got over 14,000 votes. That I didn't even print out flyers until election day. I didn't even have flyers until election day. Now, a lot of that has to do with it was 2020. It was the virus. You weren't really going hand to hand much anyway. But you know, they sent out mailers to everyone, sent out calls to everyone. So what's the point of me saying that? The point of me saying that is that people have showed they want change without us putting in $2 million to coerce them into voting for me. The people already were that motivated for change. I walk outside here in New York every day, and part of the reason I decided to run for mayor was there were so many folks that were like, I wanted to vote for you so badly, but you were outside of my district. And I was trying to figure out, was there any way I could even, because you're the type of change we need. You're the first person that I feel like is speaking to us in such a transparent way, um, and that really is gonna speak the truth, and you know can't be controlled by these other interests. It's like you would think of me as someone who is a street performer, someone who was like, really come from the community. Yes, I went to college. Yes, I've gotten awards from Harvard, and I've done lectures at top universities across the nation and toured across the world as an artist. But, a lot of people would expect me to be more doing anything for money. When for me, you couldn't pay me $1 million to do anything. These other politicians for $1,000, for $2,000, they will shut up about certain issues. For me, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And I think it's been so hard for people to kind of contextualize our movement because there's really nothing like it. There's no precedent. Like, it's not like I'm some big celebrity that's running for office and doing it. It's not like I'm some uh rich outsider or so. It's like, whoa, this is just a kind of like a regular person, a little bit different, but speaking so raw and so truthfully that that people are just really loving the message. So to comment on the intro, I will say I'm glad you brought up the point that we got over 14,000 votes. It was closer to 17,000. They used some of their money to throw out thousands of absentee ballots that folks threw out. So we got closer to 17,000 votes. That would be more than anyone has gotten in that district in the last 25 years. And any challenger, like you mentioned, even with the 14,000, that's more than any challenger in the last 20 years. So it's with $20, never been done before. And my thing that's crazy about that is, we did something right because no one's talking about it. Like if I was like some Democratic darling that came through and got that many votes the first time around, that much support, they would not stop talking about it. In fact, even in this mayoral race, they'd be like, Paperboy. I'm one of the only people in this mayoral race out of the 12 or so candidates that are going to be on the ballot um, for the Democratic primary. I'm one of the few that actually has a voter base, people that have already voted for me, outside of there's a few that are already in office, few that have ran before, but a lot of ones are putting before me. No one has ever gone anywhere and clicked their name next to anything. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't win, just something to highlight, right? That like I even have um more of a track record in that sense than they do. So
So I wanted to talk about. I mean, I see you're wearing your love armor today,
first
and
time my first time wearing this. This is for you.
thank you. So I'm feeling the love already. So Paperboy Prince is the founder of the Love Movement and loves to spread love and positivity. In fact, if I understand, you don't even make fundraising phone calls, but you call them love calls. And you also, one of your platform ideas is that you want to establish love centers across the five boroughs. So, my next question is, what exactly is a love center and what goes on there?
Have paper, yeah. Thank you. Allowing people to learn later in life new programs, new concepts, new things. You would see things in the love center that represent your community. So they should be tailored to each block that they're on and centered on that. And that means language, that means the arts and culture that's happening, that means the people that are running it, that even means the contractors that help to upkeep it and facilitate everything that needs to be done there. So much is going to happen, and we have jails, right? When somebody does something bad, we're like, oh, we're going to put you in a jail. We're going to give you free food the whole time we're there. We're going to give you a free bed the whole time we're there because you've been very bad. So you get free bed and free food, and we're going to have somebody watching you and all of this stuff. And we have a whole campus for you for that. Why can't we have the same thing for love? You live in our community. Listen, we're gonna give you a free center that's there. There's gonna be free food there. There's gonna be free computers there. There's gonna be a chance for you to do what you want and be who you want. Yeah, love is so important to everything that we're doing, and I realized that uh, the reason I came in super strong with the love is because everyone talks about hate. Even now, they talk about stopping hate. Good morning, everyone. They talk about stopping hate, but nobody's talking about spreading love. It's like they're like they can put on in MSNBC everywhere. Stop hate. Stop hate. I mean, why can't nobody say spread love? Like, is that a joke to you? Am I a joke to you? Is spreading love a joke? So for me, I really have honed in on the love, and it keeps me in check because I have a lot of days where I'm not spreading love, or someone says something to me that makes me not want to spread love, that gets under my skin, that offends me, that makes me feel insecure, right? And because I'm human, and because we all are, we're so imperfect as humans. So what can we do to uh, help us come together in our hard times, right? And the love center concept came from there's been times where I've been broke and I just wanted to hang out with friends. Why is everywhere you have to go, you have to spend money to even use the bathroom in New York City? There's not enough public restrooms. There's no place where you can just chill and be without having to constantly spend money, right? So we wanted to like provide more opportunities for people to connect with the community, and it's not like a something where they're charging you, right? And I invented the Love Gallery, which was about displaying art, community, and just like figuring it out as we go. And it's been tremendous. And it's a big thing about it is energy. I was having this talk last night that, one thing that I always try to provide in whatever realm I'm in, and which is one of the ways we've been able to be successful in so many different areas, and I even consider our failures successes. Um, is the energy we bring. Like no matter where you are, we're bringing that energy, and so that's the same thing with the love center. Like no matter what's being done, if the energy of love is there, so many people talk about issues with police, and I truly believe that if there was love, if the center of it was love, a lot of things that problems we have wouldn't be had. People talk about the problems with education. I feel like if the center of it was love, a lot of the problems there wouldn't be had. Some of the biggest issues that people are voting for, the reason that people want to vote for a woman, a black person, a gay person, the rise of identity politics has come because people feel like they're not loved for just being them, so they need someone like them to represent them because the people that aren't like them that representing them aren't showing them the love that we need. And so the idea of the love center was, hey, why can't we find a way to bring men and women together to help start healing the process of the problems that were caused in the past? Why can't we start bringing black and white folks together to start healing start that healing process of the problems that have happened in the past? No one's saying it's going to go away immediately, but what honest efforts have those in power made to really help heal our communities from the trauma that we've gone through? Like there is there's nothing there. And then when it comes to education, I'm a big believer in continuing education. you know like why do we stop going to school when we're 18? There's so many things that the world is constantly changing. So much of what you learn in school is obsolete as soon as you graduate. So we need the love center as a intelligence center. I'm getting into the phase of the campaign where we're using music uh, to really get our message out there. And the way that we use music isn't even how people would think. It's like they said that we couldn't do it, but you see, we did. Not a daddy, but the politician, my kids. How about the water? I look like a squid. You got us on the ballot. Now we about to win. Over your head, like some overhead lighting, giving out hugs and kisses. No, I'm not fighting. I'm spreading love. I don't care if you like it. They see my style. They also they're biting. Diamonds like lightning. Plus, I'm enlightening. Sound and fake as a script they recite. What happens next? Suspense is heightened. Want me in a cage, the kids were biting. I'm eating good to get the itis. My name in their mouth like gingivitis. It's our time. You think I'm psychic. Moves like a hero. Don't got a sidekick. Paper. Yeah. They want us to fight. I want to give out hugs and kisses. I want to find out more ways to give out hugs, more ways to give out kisses, more ways to inspire people to shake each other's hands, like smile, give each other a welcoming head nod, like things that bring us together. Imagine if we had a leader with the power that isn't afraid to say that. The first time they get on, they're like, yo, I want to bring everybody together. I want to spread love. In the music, I listened to music growing up as a kid, and so much of it is so influential to what our young people do, to what our adults do, right? It is the soundtrack we live our life to. We're all in our own movie, and the music is a soundtrack we live our life to. So when people hear a Paperboy song, they're like, I'm spreading love to the community. I'm on the block. I'm spreading unity. I'm being positive. What they're gonna do to me? They're like, what? Man, I want to go out and spread some love. I want to help the community. I want to. So that's what we want to inspire people to do, and that's why I've kind of like gone so hard with that.
Awesome. So, in keeping on the topic of love, one of the things I see you would like to do is abolish the police and, in fact, replace them with a love team. Could you tell us more about that idea and how exactly that's going to work? And particularly, if your plan was implemented, who is going to enforce the laws and keep the city safe from criminals?
Yeah, I think it's so cool to be an abolitionist. That's so cool. Imagine living in slavery times and like, yeah, being an abolitionist, right? That's kind of how I feel. Just so futuristic, like so against the grain, so not afraid to just fight for like things that people wouldn't dare say, and to have the position that I do. It's like, I love it. But I have a song that's like defund the cops, defund the cops, defund the cops, defund the cops, defund the cops. Ba, 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 ba. And you know the NYPD. I believe there's only about 8 countries. There's 7 or 8 countries in the world that spend more on their military than the NYPD budget. I'm gonna say that again for because some people didn't catch it. There's only about 7 or 8 countries in the world that spend more on their military than the NYPD budget. And someone can fact check that for me. If it's not, it's not 7 or 8, it's a small amount more. They spend about, we spend about $11 billion a year. And that's just the money that is on the books that they spend. That's not all the under the table money that's being spent. That could be probably close to another $1 billion. So we're talking about $12 billion a year spent on the NYPD budget. And I mean, I just put it in context for you that the military is what a lot of countries spend the most on. And now granted, I understand with 9/11, I lived through that. And New York is a crazy place with so many things going on. But I feel like imagine if we spent $12 billion on love. Like what would that look like? And
I don't know. You tell us. What does that look like?
um
What could someone expect if you have abolished the police and replaced it with love teams?
yeah, well what I'll say is this. You're smart. I'm smart. The people are smart. They're smart people. If put it like this, if your roof is leaking, right? You don't just and then there's water leaking from the roof. You're not just like gonna mop up the water every time. It's leaking, you're just mopping up the water every time. Intelligent people are like, maybe we should stop the leak. Instead of every time it leaks, mopping it up, maybe we should just stop the leak. Maybe we should stop what's causing the leak. That's the same way I feel about what we do with policing in our police departments. If crime is happening, if things are happening, why not stop the things that are causing crime, make honest efforts, and put a lot of the funding towards there instead of all of the funding towards um, solving crime, which in a lot of cases, cops don't solve crime. I've been the victim of multiple violent crimes, um, and robberies and things like that. Cops don't solve crimes. They come up after, and they a lot of time, and honestly, they have a hard job. So I don't want to like sit here and like be one of those people who is there to beat up on the police. I love the police. I honestly think the NYPD has some of the coolest officers in the world. A lot of cool people, like real New Yorkers, regular people, chill, funny, like that are just gonna like be cool. Like I was having a cool combo with a cop yesterday. That stopped me while I was shooting a video, and like so as people, I love them. As people trying to provide for their families, I get it. I don't want that to stop at all. I want it to be a situation where they're still able to provide for their families. They're still able to do what they love. They're still able to help the community because there's tons of them that are out there really helping the community. I feel like the act of policing, it's not the police, it's the act of policing that ends up making the police such a dangerous force to marginalized communities specifically. Um, so we really want to like do away with the act of policing folks and find more ways to help people on the front end instead of the back end. Again, if we're spending roughly 12 grand per student in the public school system, but have no problem spending upwards of $100,000 per prisoner in our correction system, that's a problem. Let's flip that. Now, granted, there's way more people in the school system than the correction system, but let's flip it. I mean, let's just flip it for once and see how much of a change that has in what our community looks like. So that's one of the reasons that we talked about the Love Center. It's like, hey, let's focus on solving these problems. If everybody had money, maybe there would be less robberies. If everyone had a home, maybe there would be so many other street crimes that happen wouldn't happen. Um, so I'm kind of like rambling about this now, but you get what I'm saying.
On the topic of this idea that if people have more money, that crime would be reduced. Another proposal I've read about from you is that you say you want to cancel rent. Could you tell us more about that idea and how exactly that would work? Particularly about, will that mean you'll also be canceling mortgages and canceling private property? How do you cancel rent? How does that work?
Cancel it. We gotta cancel it. Cancel it. Utilities and mortgages. You gotta cancel it. You gotta cancel it. Yeah, yeah. So I have a song, Cancel Rent, and it answers actually all of the questions that you just asked me about, yes, we need to cancel rent. Uh, that kind of became the thing that took off because an overwhelming majority of New Yorkers rent their
Mhm.
homes in the places they live. So that's why cancel rent became the first thing to help the renters because it's just the overwhelming majority of people. But with that, we understand the people, the owners are affected as well. So that's why we said, hey, let's cancel the mortgages um, for small business owners and homeowners as well, and utilities. The utilities payments. I mean, the bulk of the argument is this, right? If we're living in a pandemic where we're telling everyone to stay home, they can't work, and you're telling them they need to stay home. So let's make sure that they have a home. So canceling rent allows us to do that throughout the pandemic and beyond it, um, while people get back to uh, their normal sources of income, as those start to rebuild. Because we can't say, okay, all the vaccines are out, coronavirus is done, rent start, you owe all your rent now. And now people are owing, which is happening, which is going to happen on May 1st. A lot of people will be owing upwards of, I mean, their rent through the pandemic, anywhere from 5, 10, $50,000. That okay, it's due now. Be like, wait, but I was out of work for 3 months. I was halfway working for a couple months. Yeah, I got employment a little bit, but that was covering my utilities, and I had to help my family member that was sick. So there's a lot of issues going on. We need to bring out the biggest band-aids possible. Like, why aren't we fighting for the biggest band-aids possible? Um, so that's kind of my thoughts on that.
So you also say that you want to turn NYCHA project buildings into mansions. Now, there are thousands of NYCHA residents. Um, so under your plan, if how are they all going to live in mansions instead of apartments? How's that going to work?
Um, paper, yeah. So listen, the way to solve poverty is to give people money. That's it. That's the whole sentence. We solve poverty by giving folks money. And I feel like that's so revolutionary right there, allowing that to happen. So you solve homelessness by giving folks homes. That's always been the proven best way to solve homelessness is to give someone the proven best way to solve poverty. Give folks money. The proven best way to solve hunger, give folks food. So when it comes to turn NYCHA into mansions, we have to. We're only as strong as the weakest among us. And if those who are housing insecure or those who are in a housing project, I just spoke with residents of New York City Housing Authority. We did a forum, I want to say it was like 3 days ago. And, a lot of people are excited about this idea because the idea is if we have mansions, we want to reshape, we want to make this a utopia. Let's make it a utopia. Let's go far. If we had mansions for those living in public housing, what does that do for their perception of the world? What does that do for crime in that neighborhood? What does that do for the businesses that want to come and invest in that neighborhood? What does that do for even the city's aesthetics, right? So as well as the concept of negotiation, um, for so long they fought for the bare minimum for NYCHA, so people get less than. I'm fighting for the ultimate maximum for NYCHA, so people end up getting something that's incredible, right? If Paperboy for mayor is fighting for mansions for those living in NYCHA, then they're at the very least going to end up with state of the art, amazing facilities that are upkept very well, that empower the folks working, that living there, and that make the city proud.
So let's turn it to another topic. Um, you've said that you would completely legalize all psychedelic drugs. This would include acid, ecstasy, and the like. Uh, could you tell us why you think that it's important to do so?
Paper, yeah. It's our time. Um, I thought this was the land of the free. We live in New York City is one of the most unfree cities of all time. And I can say this as a person who tests the limits of the freedom. um, very unfree. So for me, I'm focusing on individual freedoms. First off, let's just get right at it when it comes to the legalization conversation. Prohibition never works. We both weren't alive during the 20s, during alcohol prohibition, but we know the effects of that and what happened, the protests that happened, the gangs that were empowered because of it, um, the massive underground speakeasies that would happen to circumvent these laws. So for me, prohibition just never works. Telling somebody don't do something, they automatically want to do it. For one. For two, our drug policy is racist. It's just straight up racist. It's enforced in different ways in different communities. Even if you look at when I talk about legalizing psychedelics, the reason that people are even more open to those ideas because these are seen as drugs used by uh, like white folks, right? So they're seen as less harmless because it's like, oh, a white person uses this drug. Um, for me, I'm talking about we need to legalize all drugs so that we're better able to help those that are dealing with abuse. Right now, if you're caught with a controlled substance, as they call it, which is even a weird word to call something a controlled substance in a free society. Um, if you're caught with a controlled substance, you go to jail. You can face fines, you can go to jail for a long time. And you might actually have a health condition. You might really have a health condition that causes you to abuse this controlled substance. You should be able to get help, not go to jail where you end up needing more drugs and using more drugs and being around more people that have the same issue, have the same problem, and aren't getting the adequate help for it. So we feel like with legalization, that's a way to actually help those that are dealing with the health effects to get help. Another thing is the war on drugs doesn't work. I've had the opportunity to talk to state troopers and local officers all across the country with uh, decades of experience working in the drug beat in some of the most drug laden areas in the country. And they talked about, you know, they would remove a drug dealer and the very 2 or 3 hours later, the drug dealer would be replaced. There was just nothing. Their efforts were so futile, and we're spending so much money on this, and the results, all only results we're getting is the mass incarceration of Black people, of brown people, and of men as well. So we need to have a better way of dealing with this and a 21st century way of dealing with this. And also, if you just look at the history of why these things were made illegal, it's no scientific reason that they're made illegal. There's way more dangerous things that you can buy from the CVS or Walgreens every single day that you have in your house. Way more dangerous things. The root of these things becoming illegal was based in racism. Marijuana, was based in the racism against Mexican Americans, against Black Americans, um, and so on and so forth. And now it's become profitable to make these things illegal. So, so that's one part of it. The other part is not only legalization, which I was talking about before, the wave legalization that recently happened here in the city, excuse me, the state, but reparations for the drug war. I mean, we're talking about billions billions of dollars just made by the state of New York alone. Billions of dollars just made by the state of New York alone from the incarceration of Black people. And this is something that we're talking about since like the late 70s, right? So it's like not even that old of a thing that they saw they can make a lot of profit off of. So we're saying, hey, for making profit off of literally enslaving human people, incarcerating human people for non-violent crimes. I could see if all these people were like murderers or sex offenders or something like that. We're talking about people who are like non-violent, like drug offense crimes that you've broken up families, that you've killed people, that you've terrorized and traumatized people searching for these folks. Um, yeah, let's repair these communities with cash reparations and with programs that help to heal the wounds that have been caused in the past.
Now, you say you want to implement the same plan that's been hatched by your current opponent, actually, and former presidential candidate, Andrew Yang, for his proposal called UBI, or Universal Basic Income, which would provide citizens with $2,000 per month. I want to ask you though, under your plan, if it was implemented in New York City, who would qualify for UBI benefits and how would the program be paid for to be able to give everybody $2,000 a month?
Paper, yeah. Paper, yeah. Paper, yeah. Paper, yeah. It's our time. Um, um, okay. Universal basic income. Martin Luther King. You know Martin Luther King Jr. Before he was killed, a lot of people like to talk about, the things he was saying about "I have a dream" and his work for civil rights, especially as it relates to the African American community. But his last speeches, he was a preacher, so he was speaking often in churches and in different places in the community, right, where he would in the streets. His ending message before he died was about economic equality and economic inequality and a guaranteed income. I mean, we're talking about the 60s. Martin Luther King in the 60s was saying, hey, we need a guaranteed income uh, for folks, uniting poor white Southern farmers with the Black community in the South. And it was happening. They didn't want to talk about it, but it was actually happening. Like people that was like racist, with people who were like Black people coming together, be like, wait, yeah, you know what? Kind of making sense. We're both in the same, like, yeah, we live right, you know. So this idea that Martin Luther King had, much love to Yang. I heard you bring him up, but this is an idea that I was first inspired by from Martin Luther King Jr., who, and it's so inspirational, and it's the real deal because they don't talk about him. They talk about Martin Luther King all the time. He's like the one Black activist that they make sure to talk about, but they don't mention that, hey, this guy that we have statues for in the Capitol, um, one of his main fights before he was assassinated. I misspoke earlier and said he died. Before he was assassinated because of these thoughts, before he was assassinated because of these beliefs, he was talking about universal basic income. So for me, I think that a guaranteed income for all is so important, especially right now coming out of pandemic. And what I'll add to it is that um, not only is it important coming out of the pandemic, but we can't be afraid to try things. Let's at the very least, first off, try it for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. If it doesn't work, if people hate it, okay, let's stop. If we're on the path and it looks like it's going to ruin the city forever, okay, let's stop it. But let's actually try something and give it to the people. If a major airline company, if a major car company, we would bail them out. If one of our cities um, organizations, sanitation or recycling or transportation was in a deficit, we would find a way to bail them out. But when it comes to the people of New York, we got a bunch of excuses why we can't bail them out. We got a bunch of excuses why we can't help them jumpstart their lives, jumpstart their families. I have a problem with that because I'm a fighter for the people. Um, so that's a big part of that. Now, and this will be one of the ending points as far as like who gets it. I'm really against means testing, as far as like, oh, do you make the requirement to get things or not? When it comes to something like a guaranteed income, something like healthcare for all, something like public schools, right? Imagine if public schools, if you made above a certain amount, you weren't able to go to public school. It just kind of is like, it creates a rift in society. It's like the people that are like, oh, since my parents make over 100,000, I got to go to private school. y'all go to public school. It like creates a rift in society, and there's honestly such a small percentage of people that make this higher amount, and they would, see some increases in taxes as well. So it just doesn't make sense to do that means testing as far as certain people over a certain amount don't get it, when the people that are missing is the whole having a side of the office, the operations that is running means testing for millions of people, ends up costing more than it would be just to give these extra folks, this small percentage of folks, this crumbs to them. So that's kind of how I feel about means testing when it comes to these problems.
Let me ask you, recently, candidates had to go around and collect petition signatures to get on the official ballot in November.
Yes.
Were you able to achieve that? How many petition signatures did you get? And could you announce for us whether or not we will see your name on the June ballot in the
They said we
Democratic
couldn't do
primary?
it, but you see, we did. Not a daddy, but the politicians, my kids. How about the water? I look like a squid. You got us on the ballot. Now we about to win. Over your head, like some overhead lighting. Giving out hugs and kisses. No, I'm not fighting. I'm spreading love. I don't care if you like it. They see my style. They all started biting. Diamonds like lightning. Plus I'm enlightening. Sounding fake as a script they reciting. Favorite, yeah. So yes, that's my alarm. Um, yes, yes, we did make the ballot. That's why I included it in that rap. We
Awesome.
did.
How many petition signatures did you get?
Thank you so much to the over 7,000 New Yorkers that nominated Paperboy Love Prince as a Democratic candidate for New York City mayor. That's incredible. That there's over 7,000 people that took the time to sign their name on a paper and say, "Hey, I nominate."
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we did that in coronavirus. We did that. If you look at the other 12 or so people, the official final report of who's going to be on the ballot, I think, is coming out in a day or two. But if you look at the hearing already happened, so it's all set. If you look at the folks that are on it, everyone else is a millionaire. It's maybe one or two people who are not a millionaire. And if they're not, they still have way more. They're much more financially well off than myself. Um, so it's incredible. And then so many of them have millions of dollars in their campaign coffers that they use to get through this process. We did it with the power of the people, with the power of love. So I'm so humbled and so thankful and so inspired. Like that whole process inspired me. That we, you know, got through that, and so many people are excited about our candidacy for mayor. I talked to a lot of people in the streets, and I mean, when they some of them when they first talked and they heard about me, yeah, I've heard about you. I don't know. At 2 minutes of talking, they're like, wow, okay, I get it. How can I help? People are they're that invested, and they realize that like this is something special. So, and I love our candidacy, and a lot of the other candidates even commend me. You mentioned Yang; he's texted me a few times. All of the candidates talk to me, and they're like, "Yo, we appreciate." And some of them have said this in forums and the debates. Said we appreciate your energy, bringing it back to energy, your energy, and how I'm gonna stand up and fight unapologetically for so many issues because hey, I have nothing to lose. And that's what the people need. They need fighters that are going to fight for them the same way they feel when there's an eviction notice at the door, the same way they feel when they were wrongfully arrested, the same way they feel when they lost their job and they don't know how they're going to feed their family. So, that's the kind of energy I brought, and we're going to keep bringing.
Awesome. Thank you.
About me that have the courage to do that, but it says so much about the people that they're actually believing and supporting and really getting behind that. To me, that's what's scary about it. It's and the people that are supporting are the people that never care about voting. That's the way I can win, right? Only 6%. It's like at the high end, it's like 20%, but only 6% of people are showing up in these Democratic primaries. 6% of registered voters. If I can bring my own 6%, if I can bring my own 10% of people that are just like completely like done with politics, because most of the people I talk to are so done with it. If I can bring them in, that's not just a win for me. That's not a win for our community. That's a win for democracy. I mean, it just makes it a better democracy. We have more people involved in making our decisions, so it's more holistic decisions. But my
Now, I've heard you like to work with and empower the youth. In fact, I understand that they have a 13-year-old campaign manager who's in the seventh grade. Could you tell us why you would make a 13-year-old your campaign manager? And how is he doing so far?
I have a saying: whatever the politicians do, don't do that. So for me, if you look at the other people, they hire like, oh yeah, who's Mike Bloomberg's guy? Hey, get all of them. They're like, they're like, who was uh yeah, Biden's guy? Yeah, get him. Oh yeah, Hillary Clinton's team. Yeah, bring them all in. For me, I'm like, what? These are the last people that I want getting in my head about how to help the people, right? I want to be connected to the youth. I want to make an investment in the youth. Again, when people do these things, they're showing us their true colors. They're showing us whose opinions they value the most. And for me, and this is what they do when they have millions of dollars. Like they can choose anyone to be on their team. They have millions. They can choose anyone. For me, I run like a volunteer uh, run campaign, which I'm so thankful for all of the people that like work with us, and they're very talented, like very skilled and inspired people in a lot of the same ways that I am. And you know, you can't buy that. You really can't buy that. And so the 13-year-old campaign manager, yeah, he honestly seems like he's younger than that. Like he seems like he's like 9. Uh, he might be watching right now. Seems like he's like 9. Um, is how he looks, but thinking, the way that he's thinking and processing things, as I feel like is a lot older than his age. And for me, it was like, you know, I want to invest in the youth in the future. And you do that by listening to them, by taking them seriously, and by empowering them. And for me, I've always been a person that's like empowered people. As soon as like, whatever platform I have, I've used it to help other people get better at what they do, at what they want to do. And so, yeah, this was like the same thing. And he's doing great. He's doing an amazing job. And, our whole team is doing an amazing job. And I'm still recruiting for the team. But who else would do that? It's like no one else would do that. And none of them could do that and be this far. That doesn't make sense. How, like, what? Running for mayor of New York City, 13-year-old campaign manager, now one of 12 on the ballot, already got 15, 17,000 votes in the last election, looking to turn it up. Just getting started. I haven't pushed any buttons yet. Just getting started. We're already this far. Are you kidding me? And the thing is, right? If you're some of these people, it's gonna be embarrassing to get. Whoa, you got 50,000 less votes than Paperboy Prince. That's gonna be embarrassing for us. It's like we're it's our time. You know what? I'm just talking off the cuff now. At the beginning of the campaign, I would try to be a little bit more. What's the word? Maybe fake. I was gonna say professional, but honestly, it's fake. Just to kind of like make myself seem more ready for the task. But now I'm just really speaking from my heart and how I would feel and things that I would just honestly say and how I think about it, because I don't want any of this to get lost. I want it to all be um, document it and record it, and for people to know what this moment was like, and know that like this person in this room was my roommate, you know, doing her workout class out there, is running for mayor, and we have a fighting chance. Everybody else is a millionaire. Everybody else they're saying is the progressive fighter. They've been a multimillionaire for a decade. How can they relate? How?
Observing what you've been able to accomplish has been, very exciting to see. It's not something you see all the time. So I appreciate your being able to share with us your voice, your vision, your thoughts. And at this point, I'd like to give you an opportunity to give a closing statement. Say whatever is on your mind, whatever you feel, go with it. The floor is yours.
Well,
Paperboy Love Prince.
thank you so much. I love you all so much. If you remember nothing else from this, I want you to be inspired. I want you to know that you can do it, that you can make it, that it's okay to fail at something. Go out and fail at something. Try something new. You know, the greatest things in our society were built by people who failed a lot first. The computers that we're talking on, the phones that we're using, the streets that we drive on, all made by people who weren't afraid to take a risk and fail. So if you remember nothing from this, I want you to do that. The second thing is, when it comes to the run for mayor, we've already won. You know, for me, it's not about are we going to win or hopefully we can. We have already won. There's so many people in our community that already look to me as the mayor of New York City. And for me, you know, I don't take that responsibility lightly. So I'm so thankful for this opportunity. I love everyone so much. We're going to change the world with love, with positivity, with community. Um, our platform is amazing. Basic income, healthcare for all, spreading love, more futuristic schools, a greener New York, and housing for all. Um, so I'm super excited to fight for all of those issues. And if you want to talk to me, at Paperboy the Prince is my socials. I haven't said that before. At Paperboy the Prince on Instagram, paperboyprince.com, at Paperboy Prince on Twitter. Yeah, I love you all so much. Stay tuned. I have a lot more to say. So I don't even want to end this with a closing statement. I won't close. I'm going to leave it open and say, yo, this is going to be an ongoing conversation that I'm going to have with you all, because we have so much work to do, so much love work, so much paperwork. Paper, yeah. And we're going to change this city. We're going to change this country. And when it's all said and done, we're going to change this world. Thank you so much. Paper, yeah. It's our time.
Thank you. Okay. And that concludes this installment of our Voting Her Out Forum Series interview with candidate Paperboy Love Prince, again, running to be the next mayor of New York City. Thank you for spending some time with us today, Paperboy Prince.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
And to everyone watching, don't forget to go to votingherout.com to learn about all the candidates running for office this year, including mayor, controller, public advocate, and city council. All these races are heating up, and more voters are starting to pay attention. So don't forget to vote for all these elected offices in the primaries in New York City on June 22nd. This is Michael Sharafo of the Voting Her Out team signing off. Thank you for joining us.